Hey everyone, Zach the Money Nutritionist here, and today I really want to talk about what it takes to do a for sale by owner home, what the pros are and what the cons are, and if it's right for you.
Too many thoughts on my mind, I can't sleep at night, so I just keep writing. I don't need.
So the reason I wanted to do this video was because about a month ago, I was able to sell my first primary home in Concord, North Carolina. And now I bought this house about 7 years ago, and I did a couple renovations like putting in new laminate flooring, pulling down the popcorn ceiling, doing some updates in the yard like new flowers, new garden areas. And other than that, I really just kept the house in shape by doing pressure washing and cleaning it and making sure that any little thing that went wrong, like doors coming off hinges and things like that, that they were fixed very quickly. So over time, the house that I had originally bought for around $142,000 sold for $208,000. Now, if you decide to hire a realtor, they will do all the marketing for your house. They'll take the pictures, make sure it looks nice and neat. A realtor will also do the back and forth for all communication with any potential buyers. They'll help you with the contract and basically do all the work when it comes to selling your house. Now, the downside to hiring a realtor to sell the home for you is that they're going to charge you anywhere from 3% to a 5% commission. Now, this commission, again, is just for them to list your home, to do the paperwork and communication. Now, I didn't want to pay this commission fee. So the other option I had was that I could pay a 1% fee to have someone put it on the MLS. Now, by it being on the MLS, that means people who are working directly with a realtor would see the house immediately. They'd see it before anyone else would see it. But I thought to myself, we live in a day and age now where I can put out a sign, use Zillow, Trulia, and all these other sites, Craigslist if I wanted, Facebook Marketplace. I have all these options to sell my home. Why am I going to pay someone else to do it for me? Let me at least try and see how it goes. So after speaking with my lawyers, they basically said it's really easy. There's not much for you to do. We can look at paperwork for you if you need us to. I also spoke with my mortgage broker and he said, you can do it yourself. You're really just paying them to list your home. So what I said is, you know what? I'm going to do a for sale by owner and do it myself. So I listed my home in the beginning of July, and it only took 5 days on the market to get it under contract. And to do that, I only listed the home on Zillow, Trulia, Facebook Marketplace, and Craigslist. And I had a ton of calls from, well, for one, I had a lot of calls from realtors who wanted to list the home and take a commission, but I also had to field a ton of calls from potential buyers and realtors who had people interested in the home. So there was a lot of feedback and a lot of interest right out of the gate. So the first thing I would recommend that you should do when you're doing a for sale by owner is to get a different number. There's tons of apps you can use that give you a different phone number, and that's what I would do in order to make sure they don't have your real number and keep blowing up your phone. The app that I use is MySudo. Now, it's 99 cents a month, but if you want the upgraded plan to have more minutes and more calls, you can pay $5.99 a month. But that's the first thing I would do to get started. Now, to jump into the actual pros and cons, let me go through the list of the very high level, very first things you need to know before you even make the decision if you should do a home that is for sale by owner. So when it comes to the cons of doing a for sale by owner home, the very first thing I would probably say is the communication. And that's a big con for me because you're trying to do your real job, or you're out on a date, or you're doing whatever it might be. You can get a call at any point in time. It could be early, it could be late. You'll get an email at any point in time that you need to respond to, or people get distracted and they go view other homes. So you have to be very responsive, very quick, and be ready to get hit with a phone call at any point in time. So you could be using the toilet and someone's gonna call you. So you need to be ready. And that's the first con that I would say, is you're going to be on the phone a lot. That includes before you go under contract and when you accept someone's offer to purchase, because after that, you're doing all the communication with the realtor It gets more technical, so you have to know what a realtor's talking about, or you need to Google search or call someone to say, hey, I don't know what this means. Can you help me out? I'm trying to talk to the realtor. So communication is a huge con when it comes to selling a house by yourself. Not only because of the technicality in some respects, but also because it's very demanding. The second con that I would say is the upfront work. So the very first thing you're going to do is prep your home to get ready to be listed. To do that, you have to make sure everything looks nice and neat. It looks pretty, it's fixed. You need to make sure everything's in its right spot, so when you take pictures, the lighting is just right and makes it look beautiful so that people are interested. So you need somewhat of a creative mind, and you need to have a good camera, whether it's a new phone, which is what I used, but I also have a Canon camera that I used. So I took pictures with both the Canon camera and the iPhone. I probably took 100 photos of the inside and the outside from all different types of angles, sideways, vertical, whatever, you name it. And then I went through and I picked the best ones, and then I had to edit them before I even got to the description of the home and decided to list it. So getting the house ready, knowing what to do to the house, because a realtor will help you see exactly what buyers are looking for, so they'll tell you what you need to fix. But without a realtor, you have to know what to do from a marketing aspect, how to do the write-up, where to do the listing. You're doing all that yourself, so the upfront work is a lot. The next con is that you're gonna have to get a lockbox. You may or may not live at the house anymore. If you don't, you have to give all of these people the lockbox code to go into your house. So if you still have stuff there, furniture, you're taking a risk that someone can use that code and go in when they want, or give that code to someone else. You really want to make sure that whoever's going into your house is an actual realtor. As long as you do that, it's not that big of a con, but at the end of the day, it's still a risk. The next con is the document review. So you need to make sure you have all the documents required in your state. There was a document that I actually completely missed. It was like some oil reserve document stating that there was no one that had the rights to oil that may or may not be found on my property. Didn't know that was a thing. So you need to know that you have that file. You need to make sure that you have your disclosure form filled out correctly, and anything that the realtor is going to send you when they have an offer, you need to know what it means. You need to know what's in a contract and how to understand it. If you don't, you might need a realtor. If you do and can do it yourself, then you're fine. Luckily for me, I love real estate. It wasn't an issue. So there were a few questions I had, and actually the realtor who wants to do the deal with you, they'll answer the questions. They'll work with you, and most are pretty nice, and they're not going to try and scam you or anything. So it's actually helpful to use their realtor or even their lawyers. But just be careful that that's a potential con. That document review is very important, and for sale by owner means that responsibility falls on you. And the very last thing I would say when it comes to a con is negotiating. So you have to be a good negotiator. If someone comes to you with a lowball offer, don't take it. You need to say, well, I've only been listed for a few days. I'm going to wait, or I'm going to give you a counter that's much higher. You have to be the type of person that's going to negotiate and know what your house is worth. So if you're not a good negotiator, it might be beneficial to get a realtor. If you can stick to your guns, you know what your house is worth, and you can do some going back and forth without getting worried they're going to leave and not go through with the deal, then you can do it yourself. Now the pros list is much shorter, but I like to think that the pros are much more powerful. I think we had, 5 negatives, but there's only 3 pros. The very first pro that I would say is the experience. By doing everything yourself, you get tons of experience. You have to know how to take photos, how to edit photos, how to be creative in your description of the home. You learn how to use all the software for selling. You get better at using the app for a new phone number or emails, whatever that is. You're learning how to do the process of selling a home. So that's very useful if you ever do it again, because you've done it once and you get the knowledge of what to look for and how to negotiate, how to write up a deal. So it's great, fantastic experience for someone who wants to stick with real estate. And that was my number 1 reason for doing a house for sale by owner. The number 2 reason, which is most people's number 1 reason, is that you make more money. You don't have to pay the commission to someone to list your home, whether it's 1% all the way up to 5%. Okay, they're gonna take some pictures, do a write-up, and communicate. Whatever, I can do that. I did that. It really was not that bad, guys. And I saved, what did I save? Like $6,000, $5,000. So at the end of the day, that was worth the extra phone calls. And now they've stopped. It's a month later and I don't get anything because everything's now down. So save that money and do it yourself and pocket that cash. And last but not least, the third pro is just the feeling of success. When I was signing that last piece of paper and I asked the lady, well, the lawyer, I said, hey, when am I gonna get this money? And she said, oh, today. We're gonna have it wired to your account today. And I knew I did it all myself. I signed the paperwork. I had been going over weeks, making sure everything was ready for the house, that it was fixed up, that I communicated, and that just, it was like a boulder was lifted off my shoulders. And then I knew I had a huge check, a larger check than I've ever seen going directly into my bank account. It was just an amazing feeling of success, just a feeling of gratitude. I felt happy. I felt like I could celebrate and that I had done the right thing. I knew at that moment I made the right decision not using a realtor because I did it myself. It wasn't hard. And now I can share that information with you on how you too can go in and just sell a home by yourself because it's not that hard. And I'm looking forward to sharing with you all an actual detailed step-by-step how to do a home for sale by owner. So that's coming soon. Make sure to subscribe to the channel and give me a like if you thought this information was useful, and I'll see you next time.
Too many thoughts on my mind, I can't sleep at night, so I just keep writing. I don't need no help, I don't need opinions, so